folks, it's Ben. I'm here with Tiger to disassemble a Northern Lights gym, essentially. So what we have here is an all-in-one gym. We've had this in our house since, 11 years, maybe 10 years or so, with the greatest intent of actually using it all the time, and we never actually really got around to it. So found somebody who wants it. So this will be for anyone who watches this video and them to know how to put it back together again by how I took it apart. So the first thing I've done is kind of moved it into an area where we can get access to it, obviously. And second I've done is this screw right here, which attaches to every cord on the machine, screws out here. It's actually double nutted and really dark apparently. But we unscrewed that, so that's free. And my biggest concern as a person wearing socks inside the house is I got to get these plates off. So first step, I think we're going to pop this off. There's no top access, but I'm pretty sure that there's got to be some sort of studs or something holding these bars in, so we can get these bars off so I can unload the weights. After that, it's a much safer proposition. So if you're not familiar with this thing, it's got the leg kick, it's got the bench press, the arm squeeze, the arm push, the pull up, the pull down, you name it, it can do it. Fairly cool unit. Here's the pull down bar even. Pretty extensive, but like I said, didn't really work for us. It's in this room that we can never get it out of in one piece again. So we're gonna go ahead and move it along. So this weight bar up top here is actually held on with two hex heads. So I took those out and slid the bars forward. And now what I'm doing is I'm lifting the weights individually off of the track. Of course, they're numbered by 10, 20, 30 because you'll need to determine whatever weight you're picking off there. The base is 10, 20, 30. So we're going to take all of these out up to 210 pounds is what I believe. But I'm just sliding them up the poles and setting them down. So once I got those bottoms in, I imagine I'd start backwards and kick them that way. I'm not surprised why that was so easy. You just lift them all off. One number fell off, 160, whatever. The rods just sit in the base. Neat. So all the weight is on the floor, actually, I guess is how that works, or on the bottom of the machine. And it has, this just sits there, and then there are these pads, and then there are these little rubber things. So I'm going to put that back on, because there's no reason why it can't be. And all these weights can go in a box, and these rods can go with them. But they go that way, but it doesn't look like orientation actually matters as long as the pads are there. And you want to get them in order once again, but pretty simple stuff. What am I going to take apart next? I'll tell you when I get there. So looking at this machine over, there's two major components. There's this lower part here, see that's bolted on, a lower main beam, and then upper main beam, I guess we'll call it there. Goes all the way to the top. Everything else bolts onto those two things. So we're going to take everything off of those two things. So we're going to start off with the end here. And so to note for record, there we have we're going to do that little bolt there, pull that clip out. This wire goes all the way down. There's a pulley here behind this upright. It comes up to this floating pulley that's up here. See the two units there, and comes back down around that pulley, around this pulley, and then there is actually a brake. So you can use, and this is for pulling up and things like that. It hooks onto one of the bars. And it's like, here's the part to stand on to those bars there. So that's actually a brake. So it actually pulls against that when you're lifting this, and it's the motion of that going up and down that you actually have your resistance on. So that's the path of that cable. But I think if we take this end off, that lets us slide this out as well. Looks like we might have to make a disconnect here and that, and we can hopefully take this all out as an assembly, and that would be convenient because I can just put it in the garage. So that's what's next. Alrighty, this came out as planned. Those two are separated there. I labeled one foot A, so you know those two go together. Put the bolts back in with the washers. Disconnected this guy as well. And that's the only thing holding this together, minus the cable, which I labeled foot cable because this is going to the foot exercises or calf exercises, whatever. But I can haul this off and we can move on to the next piece we're taking off, which I'll figure that out when we get there. Alrighty, that's all gone. Next step up, I think I'm going to remove this bar here. It's swinging and it's heavy. It's held on by this one bolt here. And unfortunately, the way the cable's captured, I have to release these 2 pulleys so that we can let the cable go, and then this piece will be free and we can get it out of there. So heads up on the pulleys here. This lower one had 2 nylon keepers, these little nylon sleeves here. And the top one only had 2. So maybe that's an installation thing or whatever. Real easy to put in, like they fit through the holes. So installing is easy. Getting this out without dropping them down, but it's just a bar here. So you just finger, you know, you can take them out that way, they just fall there. But heads up, there are these nylon spacers on both of these pulleys. That one was simple enough. So the pulleys were put back on just like as they are. And I would usually put my bolt on top, but see, it's got these little sleeves here that fit into this. So we'll put the bolt up here, but I did mark it arm swing and arm swing. So you know that those 2 are buddies. And I think the next thing is we're going to see what we can do about the side panel. See if we can take those off, because no cables are involved. Well, I'm wrong about the cable capture part. So we're going to take this plate off. So we undo this one and this one. Of course, that's going to release this arm that's holding our weight bar, had it been there. And my little thing is tucked up inside there. I think I'm going to have to release these 2. See, there's a little cage here that I have to release the cable from. And we'll let the cable go off of this arm away, and it will become part of this assembly. I have to undo this. This is just a holder. This is, well, actually it holds that other bar there too. This is a holder, this one, and this one. This one holds a pulley. So does this one. So we'll have to be careful with our nylon washers. But once you get those 2 pieces off, the cable can stay with this piece amongst all these pulleys here. My issue is I don't want to undo this, and I can't get it through the hole without undoing whatever this is. So we're going to leave that. But the other end can come around a little bit, and then I should be able to separate. Once this is out, I can separate this arm from down there, and that's part 2. So let's undo this guy. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 bolts, and some fun. So on this pulley here, which we need to disconnect for this kind of swung down, we have these larger metal ones, and they do fit through the hole, so you can just, once you get the screw through, you can kind of set that back in there. But just a heads up that those do exist, because you're going to have to separate that part to get these sides back on once they get in place. We only have 1 bolt holding it on now, and then I'll kind of review what we did. Okay, so I've got that assembly off. I'm going to bolt this to it so we know where all the original bolts were and stuff. Just going to release these a little bit so I can get the cable out of that catch there. That keeps the cable from coming off when you're using it. Just so I can have this floating, and then the wires we're probably just going to tape to that center arm there. Now, to avoid any confusion, here's the pulley. I guess I should put right side on that as well. The upper bar, which has the stop on it, also controls the kick out bar here that's gone. And these pulleys that are up here, it comes down to this floating pulley. And then this eventually goes to the weight stack. That's right there, through those pulleys. The lower foot bar, which actually is stuck until we remove that, goes up down on the lower part of this pulley, and then does a whole bunch of cool stuff down there. And so that's the lower half. So I think I'm going to label this upper pulley, lower pulley, lower pulley, with just tabs of tape. And that way, hopefully, it will release any confusion. Not to be confused by this cable that's down here. This just goes from the arm, and that's down there now. And it releases this so you can change the height of your bench pressing. It's not actually related to the weight system at all. So that's just fun to know. So I'm going to label that so it's kind of clear for the next person coming down the line. There. Upper back, upper front, lower back, lower front. That way you know where this thing has to be, minus all the connections down there. So hopefully with a little less confusion on the cables, I disconnected one of them, the upper pulley. So now we've got it kind of hanging there, and 2 bolts down here. Actually, it's holding it up between the top and the bottom. It should be plenty of support, but by itself, it's a little sketchy but it's in there so tight that it actually will stand on its own, which is also kind of sketchy. So great, we're gonna wiggle this one out and pull it out, and then we'll just have this big stuff left. Next piece is easy. I call it the tow bar because it's just like for Achilles tendons and stuff, work with your feet. It's there and it's attached to where it says toe here with those 2 bolts. That's it. So I got the bench press arm separated, and I'm thinking I'm going to label that BP. And then we have that little sub connector down there for the controller of it down here. Now I was going to kind of see if I could do the whole base as one, but I don't think I can because it's really heavy. But conveniently, see this little button here? It's a cable that comes up and then down to here. And it's only that screw in. So I think we can unscrew that, disconnect the cable, which would allow me to take this arm out, and the rest will be separate. So that would relieve a lot of weight. And then undo those last 2 bolts, and the back is free, and the middle piece is what it is, and we're done, hopefully. So getting there, pretty close. I think, yeah, this is just a captured, we can loosen those 2 little guys up right there and release the pin, and I think we'll be on our way. So this was a little more complicated than I thought. So here we have the holding bracket, and that's the pin. And here's the pin. So it actually goes in, and maybe when you're assembling it's a lot easier. It's quite long, and that's threaded, obviously. Right there, it's threaded. Threads into the hole. I would back those little nuts off as far as you can. It's wiggly, so it's hard to focus on. And that would allow it to get assembled easier than coming apart, especially once you get that center part reattached, and then you actually come down to do this sort of thing. But anyway, this arm is free, and we'll do those, and that'll be the probably last disassembly we'll be doing. So with that, I think I'm done. That mast is out. I have this is oddly floating around. It actually doesn't attach to that, so, but it's got cables around it, and I'm too lazy to take that apart. So we'll stack everything on top and haul this out, and my weight bars, which are still inside for some reason. And then that'll be that. And literally installation is reverse of removal. So you'll be able to start with this L bracket here and work your way back up, and you should be able to reassemble the unit. If you guys have any questions on this, feel free to ask. Otherwise, thanks for subscribing, please. Wink, wink, hint, hint. And we'll catch you next time. 20 seconds for cards. Yeah, I needed the space back in my basement because we brought it down here as one piece and squeezed it through all these doors and stuff like that. And I'm like, we're never getting it out of here. But I guess if you take your time and look at it, it will come apart. So, ta-da.